All right, we're back after all this time, and we're back with some trains. So let's take a look at what we got here, and more than one this time around. So this video is going to be all about the new Broadway GS4. This one here is the present day scheme, which I got from my local hobby shop. And then I also got the BNSF Black, which it wore briefly. And had to get the BNSF Black through Factory Direct Hobbies. They had the exclusive on that, at least initially, when the pre-orders were done. And they also sent me one of these Broadway limited address changers. I actually already had one of these. I've never bothered to unbox it, so maybe at some point we'll take a look at this too. But nice little freebie they threw in there. So we're going to take a look at the one that would be probably what most people are going to go for, because this is the present day scheme. And they also have the 1981 to 2000 version. But I would suspect this is going to be the one that most people are going to go for. Right off the bat, I do love that they kind of went back to the box design that they were using before, where they just have a part that lifts off, as opposed to that crappy cardboard sleeve that we got with UP844. That was terrible. Also, they've gone to a much more denser foam. I like that. Feels like it's not going to rip like the other stuff. So, can't really see it too good here, but we're going to go ahead and pop it out of the box. I have not taken a look at any of this just yet. Wanted to save all my reactions for the video. And these have been out for probably 2 or 3 weeks now. I've been so busy that I just haven't had time to unbox them. So, they are putting a little note on there now. Good tip. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all this plastic, and then we're going to take a closer look at it, and also going to make sure that I'm not missing any pieces. So another little thing here I noticed that's different, when you lift off the plastic here, it kind of has like its own little plastic plate here, which, I mean, I suppose you could even use that as a display stand if you wanted to. But pretty neat. Not sure how it's secured to the bottom. Gonna have to take a look at there at the underneath. So just taking a look here, how they actually did it. You can see those little posts sticking up. It's actually magnetic. So pretty neat. It's the first time I've saw that done on a model. I imagine that couldn't have been less expensive than what they were doing before. I believe this is a side rod tool here, traction tires, coupler probably for the front. There is a smoke funnel in here too. All right, so we are up close and personal with this thing here. And I'll just take a moment and take it in. I love how the number boards are actually at the front where they belong instead of the middle of it. Like some models are incorrect like that. Immediately I also noticed that all the wheels are black, which is correct. A lot of times they'll black out the middle row, but they'll forget about the fronts. So that saves you some work. And they also have that little star there, which the present day version has. It is a flat finish, which the present day version actually has a semi-gloss finish. However, on models, having a gloss finish kind of tends to have a lot of fingerprints and it makes a mess. So I'm kind of glad that they went with a flat finish. There was also a piece of tape that was over this here to prevent this from wiggling around or breaking off, which is a nice little detail on the box. Also, properly black here. The MTH version didn't get that right, and they had silver here in the back. You'll notice the small writing there, just like the present day version. Very, very crisp paint. All the little rivets here look really, really good. Be interesting to see whether the rear marker lights light up or not. I didn't read up a whole lot on this model, so I'm not tremendously familiar with what kind of features it may have. I don't know if it has whistle smoke. I don't think it does. I don't seem to see an opening for that anywhere. But really nice paint. Really, really looks the part. So my immediate thoughts, even just before we even run it here, is how does it look in comparison to the real thing? And also, how does it look in comparison to the MTH, which was the previous best example of this engine? So I just found an image of SP4449 here on Wikipedia. So I also unboxed my MTH 4449. So we're going to look at each of them. So, you know, just looking at the front of it here, silver on the number board. There's no silver on the number board. Also this circle thing here, not present on the real one. Also wheels should be all black. They're not. Also this piece here should not be silver. It should be black. Other than that, I don't notice any obvious visual flaws. There are some differences here in the top too. So this one has the whistle here, maybe because this one has whistle smoke, whereas this one here has it back here. And then also up here, no gold. This one has some gold, and also there's three right here. There's only 2 on the MTH. Looks like 3 dynamos here, 3 dynamos here, so no real difference there. Also on the tender, they have this in silver, and also that in silver, and also these top rails, all in silver. Probably are not supposed to be silver, as they're all black on this one. Also, no marker lights on the back. This one does have marker lights on the back. Not sure if they're functional yet. So, just out of the box, visually, it would appear, especially on the front here, correctly covered number board. Correctly colored, I should say. Also does not have that little circle piece here that does not appear. So from a detail perspective, looks like it beats the MTH pretty easily. All right, and on to, you know, what does it look like? What does it sound like? So we'll go ahead and fire it up here. Yeah, I had the MTH also on the track as well, so we'll take that off. And you'll see here the lower bulb just lit up right here. And the smoke's starting to spool up, so I'm going to turn that off with F7. Really want to know what this whistle's like. Not sure how accurate that is. I'll have to take a look at some videos, but it is loud and it's very, very clear. No resonance from the tender whatsoever. Speed step 1, a bit fast, but smooth. Oh, not sure how well you can see it, but the rear markers do light up. I like that they have them. I like it even more when they actually work. I like that it has a little bit of auto quilling in there too. That's pretty neat. My only criticism of the sound so far is that the chuffs are pretty high pitched. It doesn't seem to have a very bassy signature to it. It's very, very high pitched, but it's loud and it's also very clear. So next we're going to take a look at some of the alternate whistles that come with this, because I'm curious if those sound a little closer to the original or not. Alright, so here's alternate whistle number 1. Okay. And alternate whistle number 2. Doesn't sound a whole lot different than the regular one. And there's another alternate on here. That one you can't press and hold, it's just short little bursts. So what does the real one sound like? Just got YouTube queued up here and just play one for you. So not too far off. And if we just unmute here. Pretty close. So I got the MTH on track here, which you'll immediately notice is a little more bassy. And also a really cool whistle. And of course the whistle smoke itself. Yeah, I immediately love that MTH sound package a lot better. It's just too bad that these, one has the visual looks and the other one has the sound. Just not in one model. So I also figured out how to get the Mars light going here. It's actually F24. You can of course remap functions. So we're going to give it some steam here and see what kind of top speed this thing's packing. With any luck, we should get close to 100 miles an hour, which means if you weigh it down with some passenger cars, that'll probably drop to 70 or 80, which I feel like is probably a pretty good speed for this, as they usually don't run quicker than that on modern day excursion service. So... and I don't really have any runtime on this beyond what you've seen in this video, so by no means is this broken in. Alright, so let's wind it up here. Oh, the chuffs certainly get deeper as you give it a little more power. $80. $84. $85. Now back down to 80. We'll do a slow speed test here. I'm guessing it'd probably be close to 2 miles an hour since it seems a little bit fast. It's speed step 1. Yep, 1.8 miles an hour. So, could be a little bit better with slow speed. That could be a CV thing, or it could be some break-in time with the motor. So we're going to do a little old-fashioned tug-of-war here to see who's got the better pulling power. So we got the MTH here on the right, and we got our new Broadway Limited here on the left. So we got them synced up. Speed step 1. Well, I think this one could be decided quite early. Speed step 5. And the Broadway is just walking away with it. And it gets even worse as they go faster. So, pretty decisive victory for the Broadway. That was a bloodbath there. Wasn't even close. The MTH, one criticism I had of that model when it first came out is I thought the pulling power was pretty weak, especially for something that had a metal body on it. One other little detail here too that I noticed just while I was bringing this out is the MTH has lit markers here at the front, which the Broadway does not, but the Broadway has lit rear marker lights, which the MTH does not. So pick your poison there. Another little thing I want to point out too is that the color on both of these really matches. I mean, it's almost the exact same paint codes, it feels like. So they match up very well. I expect that with passenger cars, they'll match up pretty well against anything that you may have as well.
Get down the line.
So for those of you that were wondering, this engine also does have a horn. So there's actually an air horn on the front of it. And F22 actually lets you select that. Pretty obnoxious. So I'm going to go back to just the regular old whistle. Much better. So I've hooked up the small amount of passenger cars that I have for this engine, which is not a lot. So before we decide to wrap up the video here, I did also want to take a look at the BNSF version. Or at least get it out of the box and take a look at it. This has some of the older styling cues, like the white trim on the wheels, mid placement of the number board. Visually, it's, you know, not quite as stunning as the Daylight, but it is kind of a one-off paint scheme. I decided to get both for whatever reason because I was chasing down the BNSF on eBay for many, many years trying to get the MTH version. And so naturally, when they announced they were going to do one of these, I decided to pick it up. But I don't really have anything to run with it, so I'm probably not going to run it. So I'm not really sure why I bought it, but I have it. I'd probably still like to pick up the MTH version of this someday, or maybe the scale trains, or find something to actually run with it so I can put it to some use. But I think the Daylight here will be getting most of the usage. So let's wrap it up here. All right, so you've seen it run and the different variants in it and how it compares to MTH. So some final thoughts here and a few rants that we'll get into. First of all, I was very, very excited that Broadway was going to be doing the GS4s. They haven't done them since Paragon 2, which is probably somewhere around between 2010 and 2012. Can't remember exactly. It's been a long, long time. The previous Paragon 2 versions of these 4449s used to fetch just insane prices on eBay. They've all since come back down to earth now that the new one is out and is probably far superior to it. I immediately like the packaging changes that Broadway has made. This once again feels like a premium model. The packaging is nice. There's some new innovative things that they did, especially with those magnets and the base plate that it comes on. I really like that. That's a nice change. It's unique. That's the first that I've saw it. Not that, maybe somebody else has done it in the past, but I think it's a welcome change, and it's certainly an upgrade over what we've saw over some of the recent models, specifically UP844. The packaging on that was just very lackluster. This once again feels like a premium model. Price-wise, these came out in the high 500s, low 600s is kind of the street price on them. This is probably the most expensive video that I've ever made because I have two of these things. However, I'll have to decide whether I want to sell off my MTH one, which I still do like very, very much. I mean, the detail on this one, it's definitely closer to present day. Excellent weight. I'm not sure what its limit would be as far as pulling power. Certainly had no trouble pulling the 5 or 6 passenger cars that I have for it. And the MTH certainly did more than that, so I would expect this would do quite more, being that it walked away with the MTH in our little tug-of-war. The lighting, there's some pros and cons. I really enjoy the fact that they have working marker lights on the rear. The MTH did not have that. The Bachmann certainly does not have that. However, they do have dummy lights in the front. Wish they could have made those active and real. That would have been, just icing on the cake there. One other small little criticism is the color of the LEDs are very, very pure white. I would like to see something that's got a little bit more of a yellow tint in it, something more of a warm white. Probably not very difficult to change that if you were to take this apart and just replace the LEDs. Maybe someday I'll do that, but out of the box, it's, it works. There's nothing wrong with it. Just wish that they would have dialed in the color a little bit better. That's something that they've kind of gone back and forth with over the years. Like the very, very early models had that problem. Some of the blue line steam engines and diesels especially had a very, very pure white color to them, and just kind of made them look very toyish and unrealistic. it's an easy change to do, and certainly with even Paragon 2, Paragon 3, Paragon 4, they've done other models where the color tone is perfect. So not quite sure why they went backwards on this one. They've offered a couple different paint schemes in these. They have the BNSF here. They have the present day 4449. They do have other road numbers, of course, of the GS4. 4449 is certainly not the only one. They do have, I believe, the War Baby, which is kind of more of the freight paint scheme. And they also have the 1981 through 2000 version of 4449, which is very, very similar, just has the bigger Southern Pacific detail on the tender with the writing. Probably also has the older number plate design here. And just along the lines with the paint, everything is very, very detailed here. There's no sloppy writing, sloppy paint jobs, glue marks, none of those things. It's a very, very pristine model. And quality-wise, I think it's right up there with anything that they've even done in the brass hybrid line. I mean, if you told me that this was a brass hybrid, I would believe you. I mean, it's just as good. It's just as detailed. Probably the other criticism I would have of this is the motor. It's a little herky-jerky. Kind of throws back to some of the Paragon 2 models, and that's probably more of a decoder issue than a motor issue. I would expect that with future runs of these that they are going to do a DCC ready, and I think that's really the version that you want to scoop up because it's going to address a couple things. It's going to give you better motor control. Also, it's going to fix the sound, which the sound in this is not bad. And, you know, really the only criticism I have of it is it just doesn't sound as good as the MTH. And it's not that this isn't bad. It's just, you know, if I never heard the MTH, I would think that it's perfectly fine. So there's certainly better ways that the sound can be done. And this was announced just after they decided to do some DCC ready models. And they said that they didn't have time to do a run of these in that version. So hopefully with future runs, they'll do a DCC ready, which is their stealth series. And with that, I think if you were to put in your own sound from ESU or Tsunami 2, which is really going to be the main two that have a really good Southern Pacific 4449 file. Even TCS WoW has a pretty good one. I've used all three of them. I like them all. I like them all more than when I like the sound in this Paragon 4. I would probably put the MTH on equal footing with any of the others as far as the accuracy of the sound and the chuffs, certainly the whistle. So this is just a step behind, but it's certainly much better than a Paragon 2 or Paragon 3 model. Another thing is we're talking about looking to the future and future runs of these. Kind of the other big elephant in the room is that the MTH tooling that's now owned by Scale Trains. So at some point, possibly in the future, MTH will deliver a version of 4449. That's probably further off than what it is closer. Also, same deal with the passenger cars. It's been many, many years since Broadway ran the passenger cars for this daylight. I feel like now, or, you know, possibly within the next year or two would be a perfect time to do that. All of the older Broadway passenger cars, with the exception of the 2-car parlor sets, which they were practically giving away on their website for years. Same deal with the MTH ones. Those are really the only two that you can ever find. You know, there was a 5-car MTH set, an 8-car set. Those go for insane amounts of money now on eBay. So it would be a perfect time to reintroduce some passenger cars for this. Hopefully they'll do that. That's kind of one frustrating thing is that all these companies, they put out these beautiful locomotives and then they don't ever put out anything that actually goes with them. And, you know, it's obviously something that is going to sell. I mean, you know, another company who shall remain nameless also has the tooling to do these passenger cars, and they've had it for 3.5 years and haven't done any of them. So hopefully someday they'll want to make some money and come out with those. So final thought here. Is this the best version of 4449 that you can buy today? Yes. Even if the MTH was still on the market, I would say that this is a superior model to it. And any flaws that it does have, I think you can correct through doing your own sound. That will certainly fix that part of it, and also correct the motor control. I wish that they would have included whistle smoke on this. MTH found a way to do that. Also on some of the more recent Broadway locomotives, that's a feature that they have. They seem to be going away from that, which I think is unfortunate because I really enjoyed that feature. So for the moment, and probably for the foreseeable future, this is going to be the definitive version of the GS4. I think if Broadway does a stealth version of this, that's really going to be the version to have. We're probably at least another year or two away from that occurring. So for the moment, if you want a good version of this engine, and even if you're up for doing some tinkering, I think you can make it even better. So I'm glad that I have this. I'm kind of unsure at this point whether I want to get rid of my MTH, but at some future point, I'm hoping that we have another one of these kind of showdowns, which is comparing this one against whatever challengers come its way in the future. So that's it for this one. I know it's been quite some time from my last video, but I was mainly waiting for these. Probably next up will be the Q2, which is probably going to be closer to summer. Which is probably 3 or 4 months from when I'm making this video today. Also got some other little tidbits and news that I may make a video on here soon, but even these I've had here for a week or two and just haven't had the time to go over them and take a look at them. So hopefully we get to that pretty soon. Thanks, guys.